just one big story, isn't it?
Welcome to the Story Connection. I'm your host, Dänna Wilberg. Well, everyone has a story, and today we've invited an extraordinary woman who's worn many hats. We did a part one. We talked about elderly abuse. Part two, we're talking about her beautiful, beautiful novel. Now, this woman has been in the military. She's worked as an educator. She's a community activist, a wife, mother, grandmother, and let me tell you about this book. Blue Eden is something you're going to just really, really enjoy reading. So let me introduce Phyllis Kalbach.
Hello, how are you? We're back.
Well, we have so many things to talk about, but not only are we going to be talking about this fabulous book, but we're also going to be talking about your input into saving the planet and how you've become proactive with that as well.
Exactly.
So, but let's start with the book. Let's start with the book. How did you come to write this beautiful book, and tell everybody a little bit about it?
Okay. I got very curious. What is going to happen when the ice melts? Because it is melting and there's not much we're doing about it. So I started doing research, and that was and it was all about me, really. I wasn't writing for a corporation, a company. I wasn't writing for an audience. I was writing for me. And I created 3 characters to put in this world so I could see what things were going to be like. What's going to happen to our food supply? What's going to happen to our water? Who are we going to give power to? And so what is the environment going to look like then? And so I created the 3 characters. The first one is a mercenary soldier, and I created him so that I could get a feel of power and the elite, because he is a person who works for the very, very wealthy. And so this is putting me into their world, but not necessarily through the eyes of a wealthy person, through a person who is an employee, even though independent and very tough, of this very elite world. The second person I invented was a child. And this little child is handed a very horrendous responsibility. And I do write one scene where her grandmother takes her, they're in the attic, and she hands her this special secret, and it's the secret of the Blue Eden. And she says, this responsibility has been passed to you. And I hid the secret of the Blue Eden in a book called The Secret Garden, because that was about a garden that was behind walls and was left to die. And this little girl, she's frightened, and she says, but Grandma, I'm so scared. Why me? Why do I have the responsibility? She says, well, you will know how to handle it. And this, to me, was symbolic.
Very symbolic.
Of us handing over all right, we've messed it up. Here, it's yours. You take it. You do with it, you know. And so she gives her that responsibility. The third person I invent is a wife and a mother. Her name is Zanny, and she represents some very interesting things, because here is this woman who could live a very normal life if she wanted to. I could go back to work in the factories, no responsibility. I could just be with my children. But she chooses not to, and it has to be her choice. She becomes an activist, and a very dangerous activist. And in this future world, there are going to be people who are trying to resist, and they will be underground, and it would be very, very dangerous. And I did a lot of reading on the French resistance during World War II, and a lot of in the civil rights we had resistors, and what happened with them, and how. So I had to do a lot of research to get inside of this woman, who was just an ordinary woman, but maybe not.
Your characters, I have to tell you, I started reading and I couldn't stop. Your characters are just so visual. You just like you know them. And right off the bat, you know, your writing is just absolutely phenomenal.
I love to hear that. That's what I told you before. Forget about the money. That's although my husband said I don't know, but that's what any author wants to hear. Do you see and feel what I am seeing and feeling?
Yes.
Can you feel that? And
beautifully written.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's scary too, because you see the symbolism, and you see what's going on now in the world, and how this is so possible that this could happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I put it in the future. There is a documentary out there, Earth 2100, and it is a little documentary which probably precedes my novel directly. And so, because that is starting here today. Mine is after the ice has melted, but before total, complete disaster. Another thing I did is that I created an atmosphere on Mars, and this beautiful world, and we did it because this is what we have the ability to do. And yet here you have these two worlds. One is alive, one is dead. Or dying. It's not dead yet, but it's dying. And so I want people to know we have done this. We have, and we have the ability to make it better. And if it's not too, some people are saying now it's too late. But I always give hope, and I've given hope through my characters. And part of it is to learn, and I won't tell you how it ends.
Well, good.
You're going to have to figure that out yourself. But I did use a lot of symbolism. One of the things, it was so funny because I have my characters smoking. And if you've probably already noticed that, if you've been reading it. And my editor said, Phyllis, haven't they stopped that by now? And I said, it drives you crazy, doesn't it? And she said, yes. And I said, it's supposed to, because what we're doing to our environment is what we're doing to a smoker is doing to their bodies.
Yes.
The smoking is sexy, it's addictive, and I use do some things with cigarettes with two people, kind of romantic in a way. But that is our relationship with our oil and what we're doing with it. And we've got to break away from that. And so that's, yes.
So which came first? Did you first become active or proactive in trying to save the planet? Or did you have this idea for this book and it spawned your interest in what we could do to protect the planet? Which came first?
Probably my curiosity about saving the planet.
Okay.
When I was a little girl, I said, and I've told this to people, I'm not a scientist. I did not major in science. When I was a little girl in elementary school, they talked about atmospheres. We've all had that in class, and how the planet was carbon dioxide, and we had all the plants came, more and more plants, and the oxygen went up, and we have an oxygen atmosphere now. And I remember being a little girl. I started looking at the smoke coming out of the cars, and I thought, oops, we're in trouble. And so this is not something that is difficult to figure out or hard or only for really, really super smart people to know.
Yeah.
It's really not. When I was in Alaska recently, and we went out I was with a friend, and we went out on a boat in this harbor, and they said, now we're going to stop the boat, and if everybody listens real careful, we'll hear the glacier crack. So we're all standing, it's on top of like a tourist boat. And we're listening, and all of a sudden, 2/3 of that mountain just came down.
Oh.
And it's this huge ice cap came rolling right toward our boat. And they started the engine so fast, and they said, as long as I've worked here, I've never seen that happen. But this is what is happening to our ice caps.
That was for your benefit, you know.
It was
Because you needed to write this book.
So I wrote the book. I wrote it for myself. And then I was with we belonged to writers groups, and we would get the encouragement. And then it came time to publish, and I thought, and I have some friends who are really quite famous writers, and they wanted me to, you've got to go to the big corporations. I didn't want to do that. I really didn't. I'd written some other things, and I sent them in, and they said, oh, this is great, send it to us, we're going to change this, we're going to change that. This was my piece of art, this was my heart, this was me, and I did not want to work for any big corporation. Well, guess what? We don't have to anymore. And so I started Books and Scribes. I created my own publishing. I got a business license, and so I published it.
Good for you.
And then I got, well, Phyllis, you have to put it in for an award. So Eric Hoffer Awards came up. So I submitted it, and I won an honorable mention, which meant I didn't win first prize, but I got an A on it.
There you go. And being a new author, good for you. That's so huge.
I was very, very excited. So
that and that's in the scientific community, isn't it? That award?
No, there's different categories. So I won it in the science fiction.
Okay.
And I was invited to the science fiction convention, which Grandma goes to the science fiction convention, and I was on 3 different panels.
See?
And
wow.
And I was invited to go to London to the International Science Fiction Convention, and I sold some of my books in London. So, and I will have to tell you, my son, who is an engineer at Hewlett-Packard, and I said, did you tell all of your friends, your engineer friends, your mom wrote a book? Yes, Mom, I did. Oh, what did she write, a little romance? And he said, no. Well, what did she write? She wrote a science fiction novel. Your mom wrote a science fiction, a science fiction novel? Yes. So Grandma can write a science fiction novel. And
that's amazing. Well, you've done very well with that. I mean, just the fact that you've gotten on panels and you were invited to speak, that's huge. Take it from an author who's still trying to get on those panels. So you've been working with legislation as well on things to do to save the planet. You want to talk about those?
Well, yeah, okay. I will talk about one thing that is my family, my husband and I, we do not drive gas cars. We have 100% electric cars. We have solar on our roof. So one of the things, and we're very active in this electric car associations and so on. So I got a letter to the governor telling him that what we need to do is have as many car chargers across our state as possible. It was very interesting because there is an electric highway coming from Canada down to the border of California. Nevada was starting theirs. It stopped at the California border. And so I told him we have got to finish the electric highway, because if we are going to go 100% electric cars, we have got to first have that infrastructure out there. And the one question people always ask me, well, how do you find chargers? Well, they're everywhere, and if you've got them out there and if they're visible, then people are going, oh, okay, I can do this. So the governor took it up, and very, very quickly, we started seeing started sending out grants, and these chargers are going up everywhere. And we were at the Democratic convention, and all of them, and I was getting high fives. And you're the lady who wrote that, yes. So there were things that there were things that didn't happen. How I wanted it written, but they said, yes, we are putting the chargers in. There's other things we want to do as well, and that is put in chargers in the highway. So as you drive, the chargers can charge your car. Yeah. So there's a lot of different things they are doing. But yes, I absolutely love going to the car shows and showing our cars off and talking about it, and we're just pretty obnoxious about that sort of thing.
You know, I just happened to hear the other day, a friend of mine's son works at Nugget, and he suggested that they take the surplus of what they have that they can't sell and stuff, and instead of dumping it in the trash, sending it into these bio diesel fuel places. And so they started doing that. What a great way to, pay it forward.
Yes.
And, to help the environment as well. So
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I know they did make some new laws again that all new construction has to have plug-ins for your electric cars, and all new the parking lots. You're going and I know, because I'm seeing these going everywhere. It's so important to first have those chargers so that the cars will follow. And so we are constantly out there talking about our environment.
Good. So do your characters drive electric cars?
Yes. Well, they drive. They have solar.
Okay. Oh, that's even better.
They have solar. And I had to do that because they had to get long distances, and I created some different kinds of some little different things because of how I had to have some of my characters move around through this world.
Perfect. Perfect.
So which is kind of fun about when you're inventing things.
Yeah. We're at our 5-minute mark. I can't believe this. Time is just going so quickly. Do you want to give everybody your information, Phil, so they can get in touch with you?
Yes. You can email me at pjkalbach at sbcglobal.net, or through Facebook on my page.
Your author's page?
My author's page.
Very good. All right, yeah, you can just type in Phyllis Kalbach on the author page, and you should be able to find her on Facebook as well.
Yes.
Because we want everyone to find you. Okay, let's give some information about the Story Connection.
The Story Connection airs the second and fourth Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Our companion show, Paranormal Connection, airs the first and third Thursdays of each month. Each episode repeats the following Friday at 1:30 p.m. and Saturday at 5:30 a.m. Watch these programs online at the same airtimes by going to accesssacramento.org and clicking Watch 17. In the Sacramento region, you can see us on Comcast Channel 17 and on AT&T Channel 99. You can find previously aired shows on the Story Connection YouTube channel. For information on upcoming shows and previous Story Connection guests, go to storyconnectiontv.blogspot.com. You can contact us at storyconnectiontv@gmail.com, and don't forget, find us on Facebook, become a friend, and become a fan.
Phyllis, what do you expect your readers to take away from your book?
I want them to take away, I want them to realize that they are responsible, and that we, the reader, can do something, because this is what we personally have created. And that's really what I want them to understand. This is our water, our food. This is our children, their future. Yeah. And I want you to feel what these people are feeling in this world and come alive to that.
Yeah, I imagine, you know, as I was reading it, I was putting myself in the character's place, and I was thinking, this is so possible. I mean, this could happen. We could be in this position.
Yes.
And I like the way you've set up the socialization of the different groups.
Yes.
It's very interesting as well.
Yes, that is because when I studied what happens when civilizations fall apart. I went back and looked at the Roman Empire, this wonderful, very sophisticated civilization, and we went into the Dark Ages. But what happened? Who took power during that time? Well, it was the same people who were in power before, but they just shifted things around a little bit. And what happened to the other people? And so I mentioned the walls. People start building walls around themselves to separate them. Bring like a fort. Bring in all of my things. Nobody else is going to get it. This is mine. And walls around walls. And you're the outsiders. We're the insiders. And this is all a sign of very, very bad situations when you start seeing people start to build walls around themselves and start to yes.
Which we might see in the next couple of years.
I hope not. I hope not, because because there's only going to be so much resources for so many people, and are you going to be? And one section you haven't. I don't know if you've read this part yet, but in Ireland during the Potato Famine.
Yes.
The word ditchings. The word I ditched him, and that's a saying we have today, but it came from Ireland during the Potato Famine, and just masses of people died, and they just buried them in ditches. Just masses of people. Those were the ones who didn't have the resources to survive.
Well, let's say it again. It's The Blue Eden. It's the future after the ice melt. It's by Phyllis Kalbach, and it's a fabulous book. I hope that everybody gets a copy, reads it, and learns something from it.
Thank you.
Yes. And with that, I'd like to thank my fabulous crew, Ted and Rick and Laura and Lorene and Don. Did I forget anybody? Anyway, if you want to know more about me and my novels, please go to DännaWilberg.com, and please do check out Phyllis's book. Really, I'm serious. I'm an author, and I'm saying you're going to love this. It is so well written. It's beautiful. And I have one last question for our audience, and that is, what's your story? Thank you so much for joining us, Phyllis.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Mm-hmm.